All right, we're going to start with concurrences, right? Is that what we have? Get those out of the way.
Senate Bill 858, this is the bill establishing the Audit and Finance Compliance Unit. There were some technical amendments that were needed on the Senate bill. This puts the Senate bill in the same posture as the House bill, which you've already sent out to the floor.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next.
Senate Bill 410, this is the funding for the State Library Resource Center. The House amended it to conform to House Bill 660, which passed the Senate unanimously. So concurring keeps them in the same posture.
Okay. This is the resource one.
Yeah.
So this was the full amount of money. Mm-hmm. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Is that it on that? No more concurrences? Let's do that little bit. You got one I just gave you? Be good if you were here. Another win for the horseshoe.
House Bill 953, this would authorize the governor, subject to BPW approval, to transfer funds from the rainy day fund to the state disaster recovery fund, unless the transfer will result in the rainy day fund balance dropping below 5%.
Hold on. Hey. Go ahead.
Do you want me to explain it again?
Oh, that's right. The bottom line was this was just, I guess, really to clarify in many ways something probably that could have been accessed anyway, but put into this fund for To some, it appears that it is the clear route to be able to tap into money when there's a disaster by transferring it from one to the other. Okay?
Yep.
Everybody understand?
Yep.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Senator Corder. You have a chart on your desk. Everyone see that? It's been asked to see sort of the increases that have occurred. In the first line, the bill came in, and that's what it was to do. $12 million had to increase to ensure that there was enough money for debt service to deal with everything that we needed to do to finish the Pimlico/Laurel project. So that's what makes that happen. If you look down to the next line, talks about bus rapid transit. When that program was created, I won't get into all the details of it unless somebody really wants to know, but at the end, bottom line was that Montgomery County was eligible for 25 of the 27 million that were put into that pot. So they have the ability to access $25 million. We are now increasing Montgomery's portion of the pot by 2. So they will get the full 27 that was the pot. But we also increased an additional 2 for Howard, which is the only other county that is engaged right now in moving bus rapid transit. Okay? Then, if you go to the Blue Line Corridor, the overall program for the Blue Line Corridor goes from a $400 million program to a $425 million program. And to pay for that, you'll see it goes from 27 to 29. $2 million extra pays for the $25 million of extra. And as I mentioned earlier today, the backstretch housing at Laurel Park, the one-time $5 million grant to move that forward to give people some decent living conditions. And that is the bulk of it. There also is, it was mentioned, this 10% of, quote, profits that may be generated from the events at Pimlico that would go to the community. That was in the original bill. It was inadvertently removed in the BRFA last year, and now we're bringing that back in to reflect what the intention was. I think those are all the relevant pieces. Did I miss anything?
The new piece, the repeal of the statute that allows MSA to affiliate with private foundations.
When was that piece come in?
That's the piece.
Who does the Laurel Park backstretch money go to? The same place the last round did.
MSA will be able to use it for the backstretch workers, for the housing.
The MSA will be able to use it?
Yeah. The MSA is taking over financing all the projects, so MSA will be the one to then be able to use that money for the backstretch housing as well.
So this is for physical improvements to backstretch housing, or is it for services to people who work there?
It's for physical improvements to the housing that the backstretch workers.
Oh, okay. I
This is
missed.
Lehman's.
Well, yes and no. That's
Yes, but it is part of that is the speakers also.
No, I know. I mean, believe me, I understand that part of it, but I wanted, the last round kind of got screwed up and the money was going out the door, so I'm trying to be knowledgeable about this. Okay. So it's going to go into the fund in Arundel.
It'll go into the fund that MSA controls for the bigger projects, and it'll be restricted to be used for.
Okay, so it's different than the earlier one then. Okay. Okay, thank you.
So, some last minute language that came in.
There was last minute language that came in for MSA, and it's to repeal a statute that allows MSA to affiliate with private foundation effective July 1, 2027.
I think this came about because there were issues with the last board. Is that accurate? And then we don't want them to be, we don't want that engagement to happen again. Is that accurate? Anybody?
That's the information that was
Well, that's the
provided.
information we have. All right. So those are all the pieces, parts. And last thoughts before we vote on this. Okay? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay? Sadly, I will have to take this. I believe we're going to have some language in a minute, if it isn't already here. And we're just waiting for that to come in. Okay, so you have on your desks some language that has just come in. And it lays out an examination of what it would look like if the Board of Public Works was evaluating and working on approving some transportation projects. Although it's just a group that would then, let's see if there's an effective date on here. Is there an effective date? By December 1st of this year, they should be providing recommendation on what it would look like, and the aspects of it includes membership, it includes people being involved to talk about it. Anybody have any comments about this? What we're going to do is tentatively, we're going to vote for it tentatively. We are, because of the late hour, the administration is working with the comptroller and the treasurer, get their final thoughts. So we may have to make some modification.
Do we know if the chair of the Black Caucus was at least contacted? Any thoughts on it yet?
Do we have to know?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Matt Michler, the Department of Transportation. I've been working directly with the governor's office on this, so I'm not sure, unfortunately, if the chair of the Legislative Black Caucus has been contacted. I'm uncertain if the chair of the Legislative Black Caucus has been contacted. I've been working directly with the governor's office.
Does this includes SHA, this includes MTA, includes MDTA, like?
So currently, this would apply to roads, bridge, and highway projects. That's what the existing approval authority exemption would apply to. So it would be SHA and MDTA projects, because they are the only modes that would do road, bridge, and highway projects. It's the existing exemption in state law as applicable to road, bridge, and highway projects.
Just,
Go ahead.
pretty sure on the line. First to, there's been big discussion about MTA currently is before the Board of Public Works. And all of these agencies are in MDOT. So I think that when looking at it, I would hope that we try to provide parity across everything inside of MDOT.
Understood. And I think that's what this is looking to get to. Senator, I understand about creating parity with MTA, and I think that that's in part what this is trying to look to. Currently, SHA and MDTA road, bridge, and highway construction projects do not go to the Board of Public Works, and this is Absolutely. I apologize. Currently, the SHA road, bridge, and highway capital expenditures do not go to the Board of Public Works for approval. They still are subject to Division 2 of State Finance and Procurement Article. This is looking at what that approval authority would look like if there was parity.
I'm gonna lean back in, Mr. Chair. There's thresholds inside of his bill, so that threshold for MTA may be different than the ones that come out of that. So I think that all of that should be looked at once versus.
And looking at the copy of the language that I have, which I believe is what was shared, this is also looking at whether or not MTA should have an equivalent threshold to SHA and MDTA.
Okay, you weren't being explicitly clear when you were saying that. You were saying SHA, you were saying MDTA, but you never said anything about the thresholds of MTA.
Because currently, all of the projects at MTA, all the construction projects would go to the Board of Public Works.
I get that. I'm just saying, just look at it across the board. If it go to the Board of Public Works or not go right.
Yes. And I apologize for not being clear, but yes, this would look at whether or not certain projects, a certain threshold of projects would not go to the board for MTA.
Okay.
Yes.
When you're saying MTA, you talking Transportation Authority or Transit Administration?
Transit Administration, Senator.
Okay. Because I think that's the same line of question that's going in there, because it's all bridges, roads, and highways, but obviously some of those projects are the most expensive projects. I guess maybe that's the disconnect I'm having here also of like, why aren't we looking at that at the same time? Why are we just focusing on road, bridges, and highways? But I heard him just say something like that. Yeah. Whatever.
Following up on this whole line of questioning, I mean, could we make it explicit in the bill that what you just said? If we're doing that, then why not say it and articulate it in the bill?
So currently, the Transportation Administration, MTA, does not have, every construction project would go to the Board of Public Works for review at any threshold whatsoever. That is what F4 is looking to do, is to determine whether or not there needs to be parity, what a threshold would look like, what it would mean to similarly exempt certain projects of MTA from the approval authority of the Board of Public Works. And again, that's not saying that they would be exempt, but it is certainly something that this work group would look at. So it would be an expansion of the current delegated authority offered to SHA and MDTA for road, bridges, and highways. It would then apply to fixed guideway systems. That would be bus rapid transit systems and rail systems.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Was there any conversation about making a representative from either MML or MACO a part of this work group?
Not at this time, Senator.
Well, what I was thinking is one for communication purposes, but obviously to represent the interests of local government. That had not been something that I'd worked through. This is the series of members that had been coordinated. I think. Yeah. I apologize. But yes, at this point, I think we're looking broadly at major capital construction contracts. And that's why the focus is on that industry as well as the state. Communication will be a challenge.
Understood.
Thank you. I just want to go back to where the bill started, just to be, so for my clarity, like, it's trying to, just going back to the fiscal note, it was to repeal the exemptions for 5 million or the capital expenditures, land purchase 5 million or more for MDOT and MDTA in connection with state road, bridges, and highways. Is that the exclusive exemption that we're talking about right now that doesn't go before the Board of Public Works?
Right now, all the capital expenditures associated with road, bridge, and highway projects, regardless of threshold, do not go to the Board of Public Works. So this is just looking at that one piece of the equation, those capital expenditures for road, bridge, and highway projects. As amended by the House, it would be $5 million and above on new contracts or $1 million and above for construction contract change orders. So again, we're just tightly looking at the capital expenditures piece in this, and that is the limit of the existing exemption.
Okay, so then just to follow up then, so the study would then be looking at all aspects of the current exemption.
Yes.
That's what it would do.
Yes, as well as, are there other alternatives to creating a threshold, just looking holistically at the issue of how you get more notice and transparency around contracting for these projects.
Okay. Okay, that helps me to better understand what we're trying to do.
Yeah, just a question about the work group. Will there be industry people on that committee also?
Yes, Senator, there will be one representative of an engineering and design services industry and a representative of the transportation, construction, and materials industry. So construction and development side.
Thank you.
Yeah, just following back what you were just saying there, there's a work group, and then you mentioned what the bill actually talks about itself in the bill. You said something about the 5 million, the 1 million. Can you go back to that again? What was that all about?
So in the bill currently in place just to take a step back.
Right.
The bill is introduced, created a threshold of $500,000 for awards of roads, bridges, and highways, capital expenditures for
So
roads,
explain that.
bridges,
So
and highways.
anytime there's a $500,000 change order, it would have to, no, he said 500,000.
As originally introduced, it was 500.
Right.
The House raised the threshold for new contracts to 5 million.
Right.
And for construction contract change orders to 1 million.
So any road project, $5 million or above, this is from the bill, not the study, will have to go to BPW?
The bill would study the issue broadly. It wouldn't just look at the 5 million. It would look at broadly this issue of the appropriate process for transportation capital project
So
approvals.
it's all a study, the whole bill's a study?
Yes, Senator, the whole bill at this point would be a work group based on this language.
All right. Thank you.
One more. So on number 2, analyze alternative options to review and approval. So those are analyzing options as an alternative to BPW review. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, looking at the issue broadly,
So what other things exist to provide accountability and oversight aside from BPW?
Yes, Senator.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. I think some of this is to be modeled off of a work group that was taking place in the past, I think. That's what the
Yes,
chief legislator.
yes, Senator.
I don't want to overprescribe here or recommend that we overprescribe. Was there a set number of meetings in the previous task force, like they were supposed to meet X amount of times?
There was not a set number of
Okay,
meetings
thank
listed,
you.
Senator.
Thank you very much.
Further questions? I was trying to take some notes here to make sure that we can convey to you and the legislative office just thoughts and things that should be addressed. First off, as I mentioned, the comptroller, I know that in the morning you'll be checking to see the comptroller and treasurer, their feelings on all this. I think considering the idea of having like a MACO representative, something that hasn't been mentioned yet, but I've been informed is kind of unusual, is to have DLS as part of the staff on a work group like this. And they have actually weighed in a little bit about some concern on that.
Okay.
And then some clarification language maybe, I think, about, you guys can, about MTA and the relationship of that in this. Was there anything else that I missed? Go ahead.
In the language you have before you, it has a termination date. The termination date should probably be a June 30 next year termination date, because June 1st is the earliest you can do a normal effective date. And so if for some reason a study like this, sometimes they get extended. If you have a June 1 effective or termination date, that can be problematic. So if you have a June 30 termination date, you can still do something effective June 1 to extend it if you need to.
Okay, I can't say I understood that, but I'm sure it made sense to someone out there in the ethers. Yeah. Senator Augustine?
Thank you. So one of the things that doesn't seem to me to be in sort of like what the work group shall do is that it seems like part of the genesis of this is a lack of transparency on the existing, what's happening now. And there doesn't appear to me to be anything in here that sort of looks at or analyzes the current process. This is all talking about what it could be with BPW, but doesn't at all talk at all about sort of like what it is now, even if that's like why it works better right now, like sort of like the way it is right now versus what it could be. But there just doesn't appear to me to be any of that. Just on the DLS piece, like I understand what you're saying with that. I really do. And I get it. It's still, though, like MDOT should be able to clearly articulate what their program is and what the value is of it, and, you know, transparency, everything else. It still feels a little challenging for them to then, you know, not be in full ownership of that process to then suggest that, you know, there'd be an outside group to be able to do something. I'm just saying that for one last time.
Yep, fair enough. So you got all that.
Yes, I do, Senator.
I think that's actually, in particular, to the point about the way it is, and maybe the good points about the way it is, right, is something that should be considered, I think. Man, you got a lot of questions. I'm going to you, Corey.
I saw industry, I see business, and if you can add labor, like a labor component to it.
Okay. Another.
Gotcha.
And then?
I just want to go to the beginning part of what Senator Augustine was saying, which was looking at it as it is now. And I still come back to this number 2 is I think consideration of it coming before BPW, maybe that's implicit here, but kind of what are the pluses and minuses of that? And that is not explicit to me here, because it's just about finding alternatives, not the pros and cons of actually doing what the bill suggested, which I think is important to explore.
Certainly have my marching orders.
All that being said, you conceptually vote on this. We have it in front of us. Look at those things. You get back tomorrow. Off the floor or whatever. Everyone's good conceptually. Issues are different. We'll have a report for you in the morning.
I'm good conceptually, but I want to hold that.
Fine. Well, hold is hold. I'll call them right. Fine. I will let them off the floor to do this. We will not be voting anymore.
Understood.
Interesting ideas. All right. Thank you all very much. hold on, hold on. All right, anything else before the committee? Okay. All right, that's it for tonight. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you at 11.